No.
Why'd you stop it?
There's no way we're going to get away with that.
I figured like no one watches our show. No one's going to know.
Okay, that's not an excuse. You might be right, but that's not an excuse, dude. Come on,
well,
we can't use that music.
Well, look me in the eye. Tell me what music could we possibly put over something that looks like this?
Dude,
other than like... You know what I mean? Like
you might be onto something. We could try humming it.
Like the Floaty in the Beard intro? Like Floaty in the Beard.
No, I don't want to go back that far. Let's just try humming the music.
You know, I mean, like, that's kind of funny, but, like, we probably could just do something easier.
I bet we could get more creative than that. Like, we could do better than that.
Why don't we just use our own theme song, like, and just go to the episode? I'm tired of messing around.
I guess that could work.
If we can't have John Williams.
Let's just do it.
Good morning. The glorious morning makes me sick.
Good morning, my neighbor!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the
Ready Set Radio Show.
Good morning, apartment. Good morning, doorway. Good morning, wall. Good morning, ceiling. Good morning, floor.
I've got a bad feeling about this. Welcome to the new episode of the Ready Set Radio podcast. My name is Floaty. Over here is the beard. Over there in the booth, the Jar Jar Binks to our epic fucking saga, J-Dubs. Today we are celebrating what? May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, Beard.
May the 4th be with you.
Yep, and also with Dubs.
And also with our guest.
Also with our guest, Chris Sealey, one of our dope friends. Give him a round of applause, everybody. Chris Sealey.
Also, may the 4th be with you guys.
You know, we do...
Welcome to this very special edition. It is a very special edition.
Yeah, we plan our guests ahead of time, but usually it's not this far in advance. We've had this on the books for months and months and months because we were like, Chris Sealey's a huge Star Wars fan. He collects Star Wars stuff. We want to do a Star Wars themed special edition episode.
Yeah.
Let's make that happen, and thank you for making it happen.
Heck yeah.
Hey, I appreciate y'all bringing me over.
We're going to talk about our love for Star Wars, our hate of Star Wars, and look at some awesome pieces from a collection that he has, a very extensive collection. From
Yeah,
what
just
I
a little bit.
And I think we'll have some footage of that, too. And
we'll tell some stories, and there'll be some things along the way.
I think the only place to start with this is, like, all of our first experiences with Star Wars. Do you remember the first time you saw Star Wars or the first time you remember, like, getting into Star Wars, I guess?
Oh, yeah. You know what's funny, man, is I don't.
Okay.
Star Wars was just always there. It was just always there. It's like the Force. It was just always there. And I know there was no beginning. There is no end. It was just always there. I don't know how to explain it. For my life, it didn't work any other
This
way.
could be blasphemy, but my dad was a Trekkie. He wasn't. He liked Star Wars, but I grew up watching Next Generation.
My dad was a Trekkie also, but he actually watched all the Star Wars movies before he passed. He was like, "Do you got them?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Kind of always wanted to watch them all as one big long thing." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll bring them over." You know what I mean?
That's cool.
My first experience with Star Wars, I think I was 6 or 7. It was that summer, and I was down in Mississippi for my birthday, I'm sure, because that's the time we usually went down. And we were at my Uncle Lawrence's house. I was hanging out with my cousin, Nicholas. And he had these toys that brand new stuff, brand new Return of the Jedi stuff. And he had the Empire Strikes Back on the TV while playing with these new Return of the Jedi toys. And that was my first experience in, like, seeing Star Wars. I was watching it while playing with these toys, and I fell in love with Princess Leia. That was, like, my first crush of all time.
Cool.
What about you, man? You remember the first time?
Sure. Yeah, I was around 5 years old too, introduced to by my dad, and I got into the toys, play sets, all that good stuff, and you know, I got to a point, you know, when I got into my teenage years, kind of got out of it, but then when I got older,
Got adult money.
Adult
money, you know, kicked
I'd
in.
buy that for a dollar.
Nice, J-Dubs.
Yeah, but I had a extensive collection, which unfortunately passed away in my mom's house fire last year.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it was.
So, and if I'm not mistaken, and we might have mentioned this before we started the podcast, and then we tried to save it for the podcast, and that doesn't always work. But like, I'm told that you had the original Kenner set.
I mean, I had, oh my gosh, like years and years and years and years and years of collecting. gone.
That is so unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have been a collector at times. I have never collected anything for long stretches of time. Star Wars is something that I actually never collected at all. I had few things, but not figures and not. I'd have things like a puzzle someone gave me for a birthday, or I always had the movies. I'd have like Halloween costumes that I'd wear. But I didn't collect a lot of Star Wars stuff because a lot of the Star Wars stuff kind of just looked the same. Not like the designs, but the color patterns. The color palette is, if you're on the dark side, it's grays and blacks, and if you're on the other side, it's greens and oranges and whites. And it's just, for me, it wasn't toyetic to me. I like Ninja Turtle toys and like He-Man, things that were like cartoony. But I love Star Wars. Bangarang.
Yeah.
You said cartoony. No, that was part of the era.
He was just looking for a reason to push a button, dude.
I gave you all those brand new Star Wars buttons, and you go with Bangarang.
There was nothing.
I know, right? Man.
Ladies and gentlemen, like you notice, the TV screen on the wall, this is going to be kind of confusing because he asked for that last week, but that doesn't happen until next week. Does that make sense? Hollywood's
I love
so
my
fake.
setup. My setup is awesome. I love this over here.
Yeah, we decided
Good
to make
stuff.
his life a little better. Are you okay over there?
I was just wondering what that noise was.
Is it a storm?
Whether it was in my headphones.
Is that the storm?
It is a storm.
Oh.
I'm not sure if you can hear that in the microphones or not, but there's a major thunderstorm happening outside.
That is.
Oh shit!
There's a good one. Nice. And we're back.
So Chris, with your collecting of Star Wars figures and toys, did that start from wanting to play with them, or has it always been more of a I'm collecting these?
Well, when I was a kid, it was all about playing with them, and then when I started the collection that I had lost, it was like nothing's coming out of the packaging, everything's staying sealed,
Pristine.
Crispy.
Nothing.
Yep.
Yeah, crispy. That's
Yep.
right.
So would that have been like Power of the Force stuff, or was it earlier than that?
That and a little earlier.
A little bit earlier,
Yeah.
And were you collecting all of the prequel figures and everything too?
I was getting
If it said Star Wars, you were getting it? Were you one of the guys that go to Walmart at 3 a.m. and wait for them to put the pallets out and grab the cases? I knew it.
Yep.
I know another guy like that.
I did that many a time.
See, man, having a passion like that is awesome. I always enjoyed collecting Nintendo games, but I didn't want to go to a store and buy it. I liked finding them at yard sales, flea markets, swap meets, things like that.
Yeah.
I would get some at used stores, but I tried not to do that. Usually, if I had to go use store credit, I'd go and get something then, man. But so, how many pieces are in your collection? Do you have a count or a rough estimate?
Yeah, you hear that?
I don't know. I mean,
Not sure. Is it is it over 500?
not quite there yet.
That's
but
still impressive.
I would, definitely say, somewhere between 150.
And how many did you bring in the box here today?
What's in the box?
Basically, just grab some stuff just to kind of give you an idea of what I like in my collection. Various figures, some that I do like just because of the characters.
Do you have criteria in your collecting? Like you don't get everything, you get things that fit what you're collecting, or do you go for everything?
Well, it was 2018, rolling through Walmart around Christmas time, and that's when I found some Black Series figures that I was like, oh, okay, some Mandalorian stuff and whatever. I think there was a Force Ghost Yoda, and so I picked those up, and that's where it kind of sparked from this, and I just got into this Black Series kick, and it's like I told Jason earlier, it's kind of like tattoos. I got a few, and then I got a few more, and then it was just like boom, 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 boom,
Right.
boom. I know within a year.
I know a thing or two about that.
But within a year span, I'd probably put about $1,200
In a year?
in a year.
I wouldn't even consider that.
He's so excited about all his new stuff.
He still hasn't hit any of the Star Wars stuff, dude.
They're on the second page. Oh, lightsabers, nice. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
This storm, dude.
It's going, dude. It's going for real out there.
All right. We'll cut
All
that.
right, so as I was saying, I didn't really have no criteria. I just grabbed the stuff that was interesting to me. And in the Black Series that I started from, they were just standard square boxes, red on the side. And then they moved over to this next series where they had a portrait on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And each one, you collectively made a grand scale portrait.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
Just the kind of thing that collectors are like, ugh, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah, I got to have that.
yeah, I went on a Mandalorian spree and just went, psh.
So what do you got, man? You want to start showing us some things? We'll keep talking about our love of Star Wars in between as we go.
I have to admit that that A New Hope has one of my favorite lines in all of cinema history ever, and it's a line spoken by Darth Vader, and Floaty knows this line well, and it really sets the tone, I think, for not just the movie but the entire trilogy, the original 3 episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Mm-hmm.
And the line is from Darth Vader. He says, "You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away."
Yeah, that's my favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah. And it's fantastic line, and it sets up everything
Yeah.
for the whole 3
Like
trilogies.
if you couldn't
Or
tack...
all 3 trilogies.
Since you weren't
really.
able to tack the end of Rogue One at the beginning of A New Hope, it was the best way to tell everybody this is the bad guy.
Yeah.
He's the boss. Don't mess with him.
Yeah.
He
As if the
He's
costume and voice and didn't do it on
he's
its own.
he's arresting pretty space ladies.
Yeah.
All right, what you got there? I saw Grievous.
Yeah, so, of course, General Grievous, all his lightsabers,
Dude, I like that. That's a great figure.
yeah, it's pretty badass. So
That's the red side that you're talking about, an earlier series.
Yep. So this was the series I started out on, and then these buttes came along that have the cool portrait on the side.
See, like in the Star Wars universe, like just the bad guys in general always look so damn cool.
Yeah.
Even just a regular stormtrooper and a clone trooper, they just look freaking cool, especially when there's like 1,000 of them.
Yeah. And the good guys are supposed to be modeled after monk ninjas,
Yeah.
like.
And like that criteria thing that you were talking about, like once I got into a certain, phase, it was like I wanted troopers, I wanted, any kind of anything in battle gear, even Mandalorians, so like this is a, Camino clone trooper. And then we got from the Mandalorian series, the Dark Trooper.
Yeah, those are
things
some
were-
badass troopers.
Yeah, they were badass.
So you lately, with your current collecting, you don't take anything out of the box, or sometimes would you buy 2 of something because you want to display something in an action pose, maybe? Do you have any of your collection in an action pose or whatever?
Just some couple loose items that I've got just sitting around the house that were salvaged out of the fire. And
Yeah. That's rough.
Man, yeah, I'm real bummed about that, man, because I would have loved to see that collection, and I'm sure just the collection alone
Yeah.
meant a lot, let alone everything else in the house, man.
How big is the literal biggest piece of your collection? What's the biggest thing you've got that's Star Wars that you have that you keep that takes up space in your world?
Well, I mean, this right here is enough. And I don't really do much collecting, like, outside of this. Like,
Okay, so you don't
6
have like a
inch.
6 foot tall actual Darth Vader in your house.
I got
or
a
anything?
1-to-1.
He's like, give me
Not yet.
time, motherfucker. I'm gonna make it happen.
I got a 6,000-to-1 replica of the Death Star in the backyard.
Yeah,
It's the size of
you can
Ohio.
actually get in it, and yeah, that'd be dope.
but yeah, maybe one day.
So it's all just figures
but
this size in boxes.
It was just a
Okay.
mainly 6 inch,
Right.
Black Series. I got a handful.
Shut up, J-Dubs. Shut up, J-Dubs. Shut up, J-Dubs.
But anyway, I got a handful of 3 3/4 scale inch figures, just a
Right.
handful. Like
That was the size that the Kenner units were, right? Like they were the little
old
ones.
school G.I. Joe
that was
size.
kind of like
Yeah.
the
like
blister
that.
packs. Yeah.
This is a prototype X-wing loop, and as you can see, there's like 6 different colors. So they made 6 different variants of them.
Oh, that's pretty rad. And do you have all 6 variants?
No,
Uh-oh. That's something you got to search for, right?
I got
The fact that he's got prototypes though is pretty cool. Like that's not something you see every day.
It's retro collection stuff.
Yeah, I got 3 of these.
That's
So
awesome.
I
That's
was
pretty
lucky to
amazing.
find those.
Yeah, you don't see those every day, dude.
I'm surprised you brought them over here. You know, I like to spill beer here.
Hey, wait! Check out this
And break shit.
sped up version of us cleaning up one he just spilled.
Check out this thing. And while you're at it,
There.
don't forget to like, share,
There's
and
some work for
subscribe.
you to do.
Thank you. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Tell
Yeah.
your friends about this.
Don't
cool-
actually click on the screen. It's down below.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna assume for everyone here that loves Star Wars that we rank original trilogy above it all. Correct? Like at least us. Do you? Or do you-
As like whole movies, then for the most part, yeah. There are things that the prequels and then the sequels offer that I think on an individual basis can stand up to the original series or even surpass. But as Star Wars movies, like the original trilogy is Mecca, dude. It doesn't
Agreed.
It doesn't get
Yeah.
more Star Wars than that.
yeah.
That being said, I think that as a Star Wars fan, it's really easy to have opinions and really hard to realize that those opinions aren't worth anything.
Yeah, you're not writing the script. man.
Yeah, so like, suck it, dude. Just deal with it.
And it's also okay to dislike some Star Wars stuff because there's
Yeah.
a lot of it now.
Because and there are some things that I dislike, but you know what I've realized is that I have yet to find a Star Wars anything that isn't entertaining and lovable in some way.
Speaking of which, if you have Netflix, there is a really cool show called The Toys That Made Us. And
yeah.
it's about the upcoming of the toys and the problems that the toy companies had and stuff like that. Their very first one they did was on Star Wars. So if you got it, check that out.
That's a great
pretty
little
cool.
mini documentary for sure.
Yeah.
Talking about the Kenner lines in the early.
Yeah, the Kenner lines are
And
it's-
people fighting for the licensing rights.
the way that whole thing played out is kind of it's so Star Wars. Like the Kenner as a manufacturer for toys, it was such an underdog at the time, and Star Wars is such an
It was
underdog
gonna be
story.
Well, there was no major licensed product merchandise before Star Wars.
Right.
There was little small stuff, but George Lucas got was the 20th Century to let him retain all merchandising rights because they were like, well, we don't sell merchandise for movies anyway, and he knew that he has characters that kids are going to want to play with.
Yeah.
And so that's how he made money to be able to fund his other movies because he funded Jedi, right? Hall himself. So like, yeah, they were like, yeah, we'll be glad to give you less money on the film to give you 100% merchandising. And he was like, bet.
Yeah,
And now look how much Star Wars stuff there is.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah. It paid off for him in the long run for sure, but not for nothing. It changed the way we do a few things. So like, there's a lot to be said
Oh,
about it.
yeah. I
so.
mean, you talk about the prequels, whether you like the movies or not, those were the first mostly digital movies. They were the first ones to do almost all the stuff you love about movies now. And like,
yeah.
love that or hate
Jar
that.
Jar was one of the first motion captured characters that was
Yep.
played on screen
That was played
and
on
This
set.
is
You know.
very, very bad. Morning, morning.
yeah, there you go.
There's
J-Lo.
a Star Wars button for you.
There you go. But yeah, and the thing that I want to get to about the prequels is that one of the things that like Episode 1, Phantom of the Menace, offers the
Phantom
best.
of the Menace.
The Phantom Menace. What did I say? The Phantom Menace.
I love that better. Damn it. Missed opportunity, George.
Yeah,
Thank that mouse.
But the Phantom Menace has the best lightsaber battles.
Yeah, dual
And
fates.
that includes all 3 of the original episodes.
You trying to tell me that Duel of the Fates is better than Obi-Wan versus Vader in Episode 4?
Yes. Unequivocally.
But they swing the lightsabers like 8 times in that one.
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, dude, Duel of the Fates is like, I think we're right. I think that's probably the best lightsaber fight.
And and while I totally understand and maybe even agree with some of the negative points about the prequels, like maybe the acting, for instance, some of the acting wasn't great.
Can you blame him, though?
Some of the written dialogue wasn't
once
fantastic.
again, that was like the first movie that most of their acting was surrounded by blue screen. Like I could see it being a little hard to do.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying I see the point and I agree with it.
But there's one glaring plus to the prequels, and that is Samuel L. Jackson gets to be in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that's
and
epic.
Samuel L. Jackson is the reason for there being more than just green, blue, and red lightsabers.
And they're talking about a Windu
he is
show.
the guy that is responsible for that.
Yeah. They're talking about bringing a Windu show, right?
That'd be cool as hell.
That would be on it.
That would
Yeah.
be super awesome. I think it's based off of that he didn't die from the fall. I think that's what they're talking about, but who knows what they're actually going to do?
Yeah, but the point being, though, even the very first, like the Phantom Menace, has its things. Like it might not be after that much time. How could any movie stand up to the trilogy? You know what I mean? Like when on its release date, like there was so much anticipation. There's no way that it could have possibly held up. And even for all its faults, it's still like I still can't take my eyes away from it.
And I will be the first one to admit that. Like I think it's 24 years since Phantom Menace came out, something like that.
Yeah.
98 is when it came out.
Phantom of a Menace or whatever.
Phantom of the Menace.
Phantom of the Menace.
You menace, you Phantom.
I
Don't
can't
be a
believe I
menace
said
to
that.
South Central while being a Phantom in the hood. But 20 some odd years later, Jar Jar's not so bad, man. He's just not. He's near and dear to my heart, even though I went through phases where I hated that guy.
I think he's kind of annoying.
I think
but
he's the #1 Sith Lord in all of Star Wars.
I love. Shots fired! Shots fired! That it didn't turn out to be true, but I loved thinking about that idea.
right, yeah.
That fan fiction is some of the best. Like, wait.
Like,
There's
this guy's
no way.
such an idiot.
It could be possible, but there's no way, dude. There's
If you
no
take
way.
him out of that movie, man, it loses like 90% of its comedic relief, and every Star Wars movie has comedy throughout it.
Yeah.
I love Jar Jar. I used to not, and then I used to, and then I used to not again. Like
Yeah.
comes in waves, Jar Jar.
This is very, very bad.
Ahmed, best to you, man, because I know that you had a hard time
So,
with people not liking your
Chris,
character.
out of all of the universe, do you have like a favorite character or a favorite arc? Like other than what Lucas hand feeds you, is there something in it that you're specifically like, that's my jam? On all of Star Wars, that's my jam. What is it?
Well, I guess, there for a while, even when I was younger, like, even though he wasn't portrayed or whatever, Boba Fett and the story behind him, he was just the badass.
Right.
Always the badass.
Mysterious, even.
Right. He was mysterious because in the movies, they didn't give you a lot.
He didn't need a lot.
And he was the one that Vader, like, he was one of the only bounty hunters that Vader talked to, like, directly.
Yep.
And, he so he kind of stood apart, and they gave you that much, but they didn't tell you a lot about why or.
It was, just that
And-
mystery to him.
Yeah, and I like how you found out some of it in the prequels, but I still don't think they did Boba Fett specifically justice.
Yeah.
Because like to Boba Fett, there was kind of an origin story, and while that origin counts for a lot, it's not everything. And whether or not Boba Fett as the character specifically was worth all the hype he got, I thought was a question worth exploring that nobody ever really did.
Until recently.
Until maybe the Mandalorian for sure, but
and the Book of Boba Fett, yeah.
Oh yeah, I hadn't checked that one out yet. I did watch. I have to confess, I did watch The Mandalorian, but it was right after we had Leah, and I can't remember anything.
Mandalorian is fantastic.
Kids will do that to you.
Yeah, I can't remember
And
anything.
you love Mandalorian. You have a lot of Mandalorian items too.
Yeah.
It's
And I did prep, but by prepping for this podcast, I watched the original 3 because,
Nice.
of course.
I was telling myself that I was prepping, but that's only because I was already watching Light and Magic, the behind the scenes about Industrial Light and Magic on Disney Plus.
Ooh, how is that?
It's
I
fantastic.
haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
There's 2 seasons. It's awesome.
Oh, dude,
Nice.
And it's not all just Star Wars though. It's everything that they've done. Everything from the beginning until I don't know what year, whatever. It's a lot.
Yeah.
You started watching it, haven't you?
No, I haven't yet.
It's fantastic. But then yesterday, I was like working on some of these Star Wars buttons or whatever I was doing for the podcast, and I was like had Star Wars on. I was like, I could watch the whole original trilogy before I go to bed at night. And then I kept getting distracted working on the computer and had to rewind it. And I'm like, at one point I was like, why am I rewinding it? I've seen this movie 5,000 times.
Yeah.
I don't even have to turn it on to watch this. I can just think about it.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's why you fail.
That was good, dude. Hell yeah.
Thanks, Broda.
Yeah, that was nice.
Show us some more toys. We keep talking about Star Wars. What's your next one?
Yeah.
All right, so like we were talking about that criteria thing earlier.
Yeah.
All right, so I got to a point, like I said, I got into, like troopers and just anything,
Yeah.
armored and whatever. So I brought a few of those over.
Sweet. Let's see some troopers.
While you're pulling something out, I wanted to mention the fact that
moments later.
since you don't have you mentioned that almost all your collection is just the 6-inch figures in boxes, and I was wondering if it may see. I was telling him the same thing earlier. I was like, "Shut up, J-Dubs." You said troopers are some of your favorite things. Like, do you have an actual helmet or anything like that? Like, because I've seen some people have like stormtrooper pieces, like even full outfits and stuff.
Right.
But I was just wondering if you had anything like that either.
Hey, what Chris does in his spare time, that's his business.
Not when he's on this show.
We're talking about Star Wars, J-Dubs.
Nah, don't get me wrong, I like stuff like that, but in my spot that I'm in right now, I only got limited space for just so
Yeah,
much.
it's not his collection.
Yeah. You are a little short for a stormtrooper.
Let's see some troopers. Let's see some of these troopers that you brought with you. Let's see some. And do you have a favorite trooper of all of Star Wars?
All right. Well, this was Ahsoka's clone
Oh,
that ran with her, and that's one of my
nice.
faves.
That's from the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That is something that I actually I've never really watched.
Clone Wars is.
I tried starting
excellent.
it a while ago, but not too long ago. But I get overwhelmed with how many episodes there are.
You just gotta give it a speed run one night.
Put it on let it play at 2 times speed. But do you have a favorite trooper in all of Star Wars? Like, for me, nothing has surpassed the old original Red Imperial troopers.
I mean, the Imperial Guard.
Yeah,
Like,
that's my
They're
favorite.
top. They're like
That's my
the
favorite.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any Star Wars video game you play where there's they're the toughest guys to.
They're the
whoop down.
pyramid head of the Star Wars universe.
Pretty much.
Have
When
you
it
guys
comes
got to
the
play any of the
Stormtroopers?
Star Wars games?
I've played all of them.
I've been playing Star
Really?
Wars games since
Yeah.
I was a kid.
Are they good?
The latest ones are definitely amazing. The what's the one? Fallen Jedi, Fallen Order,
Follow the Jedi Order? I don't know, something. I haven't played the new stuff.
and then Survivor, I think is the second one. But they're both about Cal Kestis, who was a Jedi that had to go into hiding after Order 66, and went on to do some Jedi stuff. After that.
Let's see these troopers, man. You have a bunch.
all right. These are just a few clone troopers.
Oh, isn't this the packaging that everybody was pissed about?
And the only reason why I have these is just because they're clone troopers.
Right.
That was-
But yeah, people were mad that it didn't have a window, that you couldn't see the
Oh
actual figure.
yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah, they
Why
switched
would-
it. They fixed it.
Yeah.
They fixed it pretty damn quick too.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
But he has the originals.
But that's cool because you've got the ones that are going to be super rare.
Yeah,
and
for real.
Yeah, no doubt. That's pretty cool.
Like no sunlight will ever hit it. There'll never be any type of UV sun fading of any type.
No.
Yeah.
They'll be stored in the attic inside.
You'll never be able to
cases.
see the son of a bitch, but it's there.
Fucking
It's kind of like
vacuum
rims.
sealed
It's like you got ribs, but you don't even get to see them spin.
You see
as
that
Cat Williams
cardboard
would
box
say.
completely sealed in duct tape? There's some valuable stuff in there. Don't open it.
Plastic-free packaging.
Yeah, that was the point. But we were like, no, we want our plastic.
But isn't the
See
figure plastic?
Right, but like, see, the thing is, like, a lot of collectors don't open.
Yeah, but see,
open
the box is single use, technically, because it's just the box. The figure is multiple use.
Yeah, and collectors don't open, and if you don't have a window, you don't get to see the actual product that you bought.
Yeah.
And some things that's cool, like super special editions that have cool packaging.
Yeah.
It's fine, but like
Yeah.
your regular line, give us windows.
Yeah. And that was your starter.
That's your basic
That was
storm.
your starter.
Oh, basic clone.
Yeah.
Phase 1. Look at that. See, that's cool. See, I always liked just the sleek white too, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if this is phase 1 with this helmet, at what point in the entire saga did it become the helmet that the original trilogy was built on? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, when did it switch? I don't really know. From the clone trooper helmet to the storm.
because they go through several switches and there's
It's
a
an
whole different
evolution.
there's a whole bunch of different variants that come like in Jedi they have the extra ones that are the guys on the bikes that run through the jungle, and they have a whole different helmet and setup and everything too. But like, you know, they never tell you these things.
There's got to be something somewhere that we just haven't seen, because I have not seen everything Star Wars because there's so much. There's just way too much.
Yeah, it's an expansive.
Yeah, so far, I mean, I have seen other things, but for the most part, I stick to the movie propers.
The canon. Yeah.
And then I'll also throw in Mandalorian in there. And I'm looking forward to the Mandalorian and Grogu movie that they're doing.
Oh yeah.
I liked the
Funny
side
enough,
movies. I liked Solo. I
love
Rogue One.
Solo. I loved Rogue One, and
Rogue One, yeah.
they were both. Even though neither of them had any real lightsaber stuff, any Jedi stuff, they were still very much Star Wars, and I enjoyed them very much. Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what you were just talking about, I just happened to eye this out.
Oh,
That's a
going on
clone
here?
trooper and a stormtrooper. And that one's Ahsoka's.
Clone Trooper and Stormtrooper. That's the difference right there. Yeah.
Man, I like the paint on this one. That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
So what's your favorite Star Wars movie, and why is it Empire Strikes Back?
I mean, who doesn't love Empire?
Yeah. No, it's like the best one.
It is.
Yeah, I think hands down. A lot.
It's
of
like,
us.
I wish that you could have more of a discussion about that, but like, I think for the most part, everyone agrees that have seen all of them that Empire is the best. Do you? Okay, fine.
Why do you think that is?
I don't-
Like, what is it specifically?
Because it ends on a bummer, man.
It does end on a bummer.
It's got a big twist,
Yep.
and that's another reason why you have to let people watch the movies original trilogy first, because you spoil that moment.
That big twist is lost completely if you don't watch them in the order they were released.
Yeah, because then it's just the
Yeah.
only person in the world that doesn't know is Luke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As the viewer, not knowing is what makes that moment epic, and that's why we still talk about it and remember it. To this
Here's
day.
a question I would love to hear everybody's take on. Do you think Star Wars would be better if it had been written and released like Harry Potter, or if it had been written and released the way that it actually was?
the way that it was.
The
I
way
agree
that
that
it was.
100%.
Yeah?
because of
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
reason I just said, plus other things that are all story related. That if you have the prequels first, then you miss the epicness of certain realizations. You know, like
Yeah.
you know, if you already knew about Anakin being the father of Luke and Leia, then
If
when
that's
they,
the case,
when
then
they
do
kiss,
you
it's
think-
already wrong.
If that's the case, then do you think Harry Potter would be a better series if it had been released like Star Wars?
I believe that the first 5 Harry Potter movies could have been released in any order, but the last ones had to be in the order that they're in. As long as the ages change, that
We're not talking about Harry Potter, so but that's an interesting take.
That is, because now that I'm thinking of it, I would actually be, I'd be down to see that. Like to do it all over again and have them released like that.
Honestly, I'd love to see Star Wars written and released like Harry Potter was. I'd love to see that.
Like
just to see how refined it would be, and at what point does it? At what point does the spaghetti western end and the CGI begin? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, are you saying that you'd like to see somebody start from the beginning and redo all the movies with all the same technology?
No.
No.
All I'm saying is that I am curious about what the Star Wars universe would look like if George Lucas had written and released them in the same way that J.K. Rowling wrote and released Harry Potter.
All right. So start with Phantom and go forward, basically.
Yeah, and write out the whole universe and know all of the ins and outs and what you want it all to look like, so that you don't go back and change your mind a million times and change shit about movies that you released 20 years ago when you're releasing some new ones. That's not right, dude. I just don't see that as right. I can't believe that George Lucas got away with some of that shit.
The other day, you brought up one of the biggest points about the prequels ruining things, and was talking about we understand why C-3PO doesn't recognize Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
there's
because
no
his
damn
memory got
reason that
wiped.
Obi-Wan
But there's no
shouldn't
reason that
recognize 3PO.
Obi-Wan shouldn't recognize R2 and C-3PO. In the original Alex Guinness.
Perfect.
Yeah, he should know. He should be like, R2, what's up, guy? I fucking missed you. Like, where you been at, bro? Tell me a story. You know, what's good?
No, he should have been like, R2, you're supposed to be with Leia. What's going on?
Yeah, he should have had some sort of visceral reaction.
Yeah.
And there was nothing. Whether or not he was trying to keep his cover, I don't fucking buy.
To be fair, he wasn't really sure at the beginning of that interaction what they were there for.
Yeah.
But once he found out,
dude, at the beginning
I
of
know these droids.
At the beginning of that interaction, he forgot he used to be called Obi-Wan, dude.
These
like, it's
are
not
the
even
droids
fair.
I'm looking for.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I would
Happy May the 4th, everybody. We're just
Yeah.
gonna bash Star Wars.
May the Fourth be with you. But that's what I think makes it special and stand out among so many other fictional universes that people flock to
Wait, the
get
fact
away.
that things don't line up 100%?
It's something to talk about.
It is something to talk about.
It brings, there's room for interpretation and everybody can have their own thing in it. Harry Potter doesn't leave nearly as much room for that kind of thing.
I got a hot take.
I have one after you.
I have a hot take about Star Wars. Yoda has 2 of the coolest lightsaber fights in the prequels.
Yeah.
But
It's why you fail.
we have not seen Yoda win a fight yet. He loses both those fights.
Yeah.
And he's awesome. The way he fights is great. Like a frog on speed. You know what I mean? Like they based it off of samurai flicks where the good guy was in the woods fighting these bad guys, and all of a sudden the bad guys started flying all over the place. And they based it off of these old kung fu flicks. And that's awesome, man. But like, couldn't you give us like just one lightsaber
let's
fight
do it.
that Yoda actually wins? Like decisively kicks someone's ass?
I know that Duel of the Fates was really hard to live up to once they were doing the second and third of the prequels. But I also think that they went overboard with Yoda's fight with Dooku. Because he was like a cheetah on cocaine, dude, just bouncing off fucking walls.
That was the first time they'd ever done it, and they spent a lot of time working on it. And I like it, but you're right, it's a smidge.
It was a tad overdone to the point where like he was a pinball. Yoda was a pinball that you were watching just bounce across the screen.
Yeah, I think he really could have done 99% of what he did, and if they just slowed it down a little bit, just a bit. That would have been a lot cooler, but it's very cool.
Like hyper mode.
Yeah, he's like Yeah, he's like a sugar rush toddler, man.
I would have rather have seen. I sometimes think I would have rather seen them take it with a more cartoonish kind of approach and have Yoda just stand in one spot while Count Dooku is trying to whoop his ass and can't.
It's just like,
You know what I mean? Yeah, and
That
like
could be cool.
I think sometimes I would have rather have seen it gone that way than the way that they went with it.
Yoda. I kind of dig him. Like, because if I...
It's totally unexpected because like he goes through the whole thing where he hobbles up and then drops his walking stick and pulls out his lightsaber and goes to work. But like...
Right. That's the Force, dude. That's the Force.
The Force.
And like, and he has the best ever getting his lightsaber out moment. It's a very Western.
That's
thing.
very, very cool,
Opens
dude.
up the
Yeah.
cape like a Western.
Has his
reaches
hand
for
out
it,
here and
reaches for it, but stops, and then he goes. Best.
from his own belt, dude. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So his fight was epic, but there's certain tweaks.
The
that were good.
epicness of it was so much more subtle.
Hindsight is what I got to say because I'm sure. And I loved it the first time I saw it. Just like I loved everything in episode 1 the first time I saw it. I saw that movie 12 times in theaters because it was the first new Star Wars in my lifetime that I got to go see in theaters. And it was later on that I started being like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This just doesn't add up.
Once the nostalgia of it wears off and you're looking at it like, wait, this doesn't line up.
Like
This doesn't line up.
The pod race.
And who the hell is this kid? He sucks.
The pod race is cool, and Star Wars has always had, B and C and sometimes D subplots.
Yeah.
Pod race was cool, man, but it's 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
30 minutes of pod racing.
Remember I sent this to you guys a couple weeks back. There's actually a horror movie, Star Wars themed movie coming out.
That is true.
Yeah. I kind of like how they're branching out and seeing what they can get away with.
That's what the mouse has
when
done.
it comes to the Star Wars brand, and they're not going to get away with all of it. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
Well, the problem
But
with
I
that
am
is,
interested to see what they do actually get away with.
Have you seen some of all these licensings are coming up now, like the Popeye and the Bugs Bunny and all of that stuff, and they're doing these horror movies.
Yeah.
and they're very lukewarm, man. Like
That's 'cause they're just doing them
they're
too
our
fast.
generation's B movies.
They're all trying to jump on it too, like quickly, and like what they need to do is like look at something that's going to come up in like 10 years, work on that for 10
Right.
years, and that way when it comes out, you've got a great product.
Yeah. Yeah, there
Star
could be
Wars,
another way to go about it.
That's the thing that Disney's done that is
But see, Floaty, if they go about it that way, then we won't have anything to talk about right now.
Disney purchasing Lucasfilms and Star Wars, some people hated it, some people love it, and the things that they're putting out, they're not going to hit a home run with everything that they do. It's not possible, and it sucks to be on some levels. It sucks to be in a world now that you have to like cherry pick your Star Wars universe for yourself. But like, I very much recommend and take in the stuff you like that's Star Wars related, and just ignore the rest of it, man.
That's
You don't like Andor? Fuck it, don't watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't been able to catch up on Andor
Me
yet.
either. I don't have time to watch it, but I hear it's pretty good. I hear
it's a little slow to start.
Skeleton Crew. I hear is awesome. I don't know if anybody's seen that yet, but I hear it's really, really good.
No, I haven't seen that either.
But make sure you watch us though.
And watch
And
this
listen to
show.
us. Yes.
We talk about
Like,
Star
share, and
Wars.
subscribe while you're at it.
Like, share, subscribe. Look at this graphic right here, guys.
Don't click
You
on
see
it.
that, Chris? This
It's below.
graphic just popped up right here, and there it goes. It just fell off the screen.
Doesn't stick. It's like Christmas.
We need
Comes
better.
around.
We need better adhesive for our graphics.
I don't know, man. This one's sticking pretty good.
That was pretty good. I don't like that one too much.
Yeah, me either.
I also didn't know how we
It's
spelled
new.
J-Dub.
It might not stick around.
I wasn't
for very
really
long.
sure how we spelled J-Dubs. It's always just been spoken, so that's what I put. Sometimes we use a Z.
Yeah, that'll work.
I just put a W with a apostrophe S on it.
I like the Z, but that'll work.
All right, well, I'll change it.
I'm humbled at what I get.
No.
This is great.
In this room, apparently, beggars can be choosers. You're gonna get what you want. I'm gonna give you the Z,
Okay.
mother fluffer. And I made a special one for that called Blasters. Do you guys think that there's any character in the Star Wars universe that is like underrated and underutilized? Like, do you have like a sleeper favorite character, like that no one else really cares about?
I think a lot of the bad guys outside of Darth Vader get underutilized because Darth Vader is such a big deal. and I think that counts for Dooku. I think that counts for Maul, and Kylo Ren. I don't think.
Well, it is the Skywalker saga. I mean,
yeah,
you're right. You're very right.
And I understand that, but when like he's the only bad guy, like how bad could it really be? You need more. I wish like they've got good bad guy characters. I wish you got to see more.
Like Vader should have had an apprentice, and the apprentice gets got every episode. If you weren't going to get Vader, right? That could have been cool. You got to get through an apprentice every time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like Vader liked to just choke unalive admirals, at a whim.
Yeah.
for coming out, for getting too far in the asteroid belt, dude got choked out.
And you don't see him duel a lot of Jedi, because by the time he's in the movies, the Jedi are already all pretty much gone. So like
and everybody that's in the Empire already knows that he could.
He's the guy. Don't mess around. Like he doesn't have to touch you to mess you up.
But he listens to Tarkin. I never understood that. Like, shouldn't he be number 2? Shouldn't Vader be number 2? And Tarkin's like number 3 or 4 or 5, somewhere in there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Enough, Vader. Release him. He's like, okay. I'm like, no.
I'll choke you too.
You too. I'm Darth Vader, mother fluffer. That's direct dialogue. I shouldn't have said that. I'm gonna get sued.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Do you think if the Star Wars movies were released in today's time with the CGI, do you think that they would hit as hard and be as famous as they are today?
No, Star Wars, the original 3 had to come out and have the success that they had, because the universe wouldn't have happened any other way.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, do you feel that there's a rip between the old movies and the way that they were shot and the lack of CGI, and most of some of that stuff was painted, like pictures and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they used a lot of models and
compared to
matte painting,
the CGI that they are using now.
I think that was just a matter of resources.
I think I heard this opinion, and I think it's true, that George Lucas, while having been a great filmmaker, is going to be more known for being an innovator in filmmaking, because he was always the guy that was like, I want to see this, and the guys were like, we can't do that, and he's like, well, think about it,
figure it out.
He's like, money's no issue. Because of him and his financial backing and his vision, we have the movies that we know today, the technology that we have. So like Star Wars, the way it was released, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, it not only shows this one great story about the Anakin hair family line or whatever, but you're watching technological history being made from watching it that way.
From one trilogy to the next.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Like he's the reason that we have digital editing. He was like, this working with actual film to edit is stupid. We're using digital effects. There's got to be a way to use that technology to give me digital editing.
Yeah.
And because of that, we can do this podcast on our computer with the push of a button. And we wouldn't even have that if it wasn't for Industrial Light and Magic and Lucasfilms. But as much as I love Star Wars, way bigger, I think, is his contribution to the technology used in the creation of films.
Yeah, I'm with that. Mm-hmm. I'm with that. I just, sometimes I kind of just wish he was a better writer.
I think he's actually a really, really good writer. I think he's a good writer. I just think he's not good at organizing what he wrote.
Yeah. I think you might be right when it comes to like concept or whatever, but he's terrible at dialogue.
The lore is amazing.
The lore is amazing, but the dialogue is terrible.
Yeah.
And when that dialogue is all you've got to go off of, the acting is going to be terrible too.
He wrote the stories. He didn't write all of the screenplays. He approved everything for sure, so it still falls to him.
Yeah.
But like the stories that he wrote, the character arcs that he wrote, the elements like the Force and the Empire and the Rebels. What a fantastic storyteller.
The Force and the Jedi and how it's an ancient religion and the lore is amazing. I got to give you that. Like it's some of the best ideas.
In the OG movies, it's like that's kind of how dialogue was in the 70s. But in like the prequels, you can have the political trade wars and stuff if you need that to be your catalyst for everything that happens, man. But like, do we need that much dialogue and that many scenes about it?
Right.
Like we get it. There's a trade war going on, and that's what kind of started stuff. And then the Jedi Council are getting kind of cocky on themselves that they should see anything, and they're not seeing it because they're too cocky about it. And then they know that having Anakin be around Palpatine's a bad idea, but they still go have him babysit Palpatine by himself. Like, they're the reason everything went wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he did bring balance to the Force because there was, 2 Sith and 2 Jedi still alive. Just the Jedi were scattered. You know what I mean? Yoda and Obi-Wan were.
Yeah, it's so funny to me that they think that somebody that when the Jedi Council looked the way it did, and they were like, "There's one Sith around, we got to end that." And they think that the person who's going to bring balance to the Force is going to be a good guy. Really?
Yeah,
you guys thought that? Like, come on,
especially
come on,
especially when they kept making Anakin feel not part of the council, not part of the order, and not letting him be a master, and like they were pushing him away while simultaneously Palpatine was pulling him in. And like, there's a lot of great storytelling in there. There's a lot of manipulation on Palpatine's part.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of missteps by the Jedi Council, especially Mace Windu and Yoda. They misstep with Anakin, and because he had equal forces, one pulling him towards the dark and one not allowing him to get into the light. Of course, he's going to go that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it brings up arguments of like, should the Jedi have allowed personal attachments? Like, would it have been better for everyone if they were allowed to have personal attachments and not feel torn between the Jedi way and loving anything and anyone? You know what I mean?
Because you can't imagine any sort of organization that follows any sort of their own creed like that operating at a high level like the Jedi Council does in the real world while not allowing those people to have physical attachments. It would never work. It would never work. But like, you allow them the physical attachments because, like, could you, like, for example, could you imagine the U.S. government not allowing Navy SEALs to have wives? You know what I mean? Like, could you imagine that? There's no fucking way, dude. Like, so like, why not allow them to have attachments and draw the line for the religion somewhere else?
Sometimes it's just good to have something that you're fighting for too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you're working for, that you're doing the things you do for. You know what I mean? And who could blame Anakin for falling in love with Padme?
Yeah, because being a Jedi is already hard, dude. Like, and that just seems like it would make it harder.
Yeah. And maybe Yoda was right that he was too old to start the training. Maybe that was the problem, but I don't think it was. I think he had a higher midichlorian count or a stronger Force user than anyone they'd ever met before. And he was just
hang on.
He wanted more.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Midichlorians?
Midichlorians. What the fuck is that?
I'll tell you what that was. That was a mistake.
Get real.
That's what that was.
Get real. Get out of my face.
Yeah, there's a reason why it hasn't really been mentioned again. Like, most Star Wars fans just accept the fact that he tried to explain how people can be stronger and weaker Force users. Fine.
With some sort of measurable metric.
You didn't need it. That movie was too long anyway. You had 30 minutes of pod racing. We didn't need midichlorians.
Yeah.
You could have just been like, this kid, he's strong in the Force, man. The Force is strong with this little
You mean
kid.
you can't feel that?
Yeah, that's all you need.
can't feel that bulge in the Force happening right now?
Midichlorian.
Midichlorian. Get real.
Oh, man.
Johnny Hammersticks drinking out of cups.
See,
Get real.
Our podcast jumps around all the time. We never talked about other things about what we liked about Star Wars, like background characters and relationships and stuff. For me, it's always been 3PO and R2-D2. Like, the relationship between 3PO and R2 is my favorite part of Star Wars.
That is fun, but see, I love even some of the stuff that goes way deeper and tells the extensions of the stories that you see in the movies. Like, I thought, like, Rogue One is probably one of the best examples because the original New Hope happens and they went and did a prequel that didn't have anything to do with the prequels. But like, you could play them back, like you could mesh them up and you wouldn't be able to tell where one movie ends and the next one begins. And it tells the whole story, but it's a different it's a different story than what was canon in the original 9 episodes of the Star Wars saga.
But even though you could back up the end of Rogue One and the beginning of A New Hope, man, right there off the bat, dialogue doesn't make no damn sense. Where are the plans aboard this ship? I don't know what you're talking about. I just chased you down a hallway.
Well, yeah, but like, put yourself in that rebel's shoes. What are you gonna say?
How could he?
Darth Vader has you by the figurative.
You know that he knows
throat,
that
like,
you know that he knows that you're full of shit. The plans aren't here, but I just saw you bring him on here.
But you're still not gonna tell him what you did with him. So what else are you gonna say?
I know nothing.
What else are you?
I don't know nothing.
Yeah, what else would you say?
It's above my pay grade, Vader.
Yep.
I just work here.
What do I tell him when I'm being held by Vader, being asked questions?
Yeah.
I tell him where Leia is. She's down the hall,
Go down the
third
hall to the
row,
left.
third door on the right.
Yeah. And then none of the Star Wars anything happens because Vader just wins right off the bat.
Done.
Coward.
And in A New Hope, in that scene where he's choking the guy and he's told to stop. He's like, the ability to destroy planets is nothing when compared
Insignificant to the power of the Force.
When do they show that? When have I ever seen a Force user do something badder and bigger than destroy a planet?
Funny enough, this is going to bridge us right into the 3 episodes that happened after the original 3, because I think one of the most badass displays of using the Force's power is when Luke Skywalker is going against Kylo Ren
He's
in The Last
projecting
Jedi.
himself across the
That's one of
galaxy.
the most badass
I agree.
Force.
People had a problem with it.
Whew,
I was like,
I
are you
didn't have no
kidding me?
problem with that. Are you kidding me?
I love that.
Luke is amazing, and that just proves it.
Yeah.
Like up until that point, Luke was like, not only was he only one of the very few that were around at the very beginning of when he was becoming a Jedi, but then he trained a bunch and went through his whole story, and then went away from it, and then came back and was the most powerful Jedi at the time, and he showed us some new tricks about the Force that we didn't even know were a thing in the movies when
They were like, that's not a Jedi Force. I'm like, dude, he was learning from scratch.
yeah.
How do
He
you
was
know it
literally
wasn't a
learning from the
Jedi
Force itself,
We
dude.
haven't seen anything that took place long enough ago to not know it wasn't.
Yep.
Shut up. Enjoy the spectacle.
Yep. Yoda's been gone for a long time, and he wasn't learning from anybody else. So, like, where did that come from?
Just enjoy Leia dying in space and floating through and surviving.
That one, they tried to
tough
blame
one.
it on the Force. That one I
tough
felt
one.
was a little flimsy.
It's a tough one, but you know what? I'm accepting it, man, because there's DC fans that accept Superman getting new powers every time he has a problem he can't solve. So I'm okay with it. I made a blasters one. Oh, was that blasters? I
Yeah.
can't tell.
He did.
I didn't do a good enough job.
Yeah,
did I?
he's done nothing but blasters.
Didn't I have lights for that?
No.
Just lightsaber.
Yeah. Do the
Just
lightsaber.
lightsaber.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That was what Floaty wanted to see.
Yeah. Happy May 4th, everybody. This is a fun episode.
It is.
It's been fun, man. Good stuff.
Let's talk about your least favorite thing about Star Wars. What's the worst worst thing? All time, if this was gone, you'd be a lot happier about Star Wars. What, anything at all?
The fans. The fans are the worst part about Star Wars, dude. And I include the 3 of us in that because we're sitting here having our fucking opinions like they matter.
Yeah, the views and opinions expressed on the Ready Set Radio morning show are our opinions. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you don't like them.
Yeah, but
comment with your opinions.
On the flip side of that same token, I'm also saying those opinions are worth shit. So don't listen.
I just remembered I wanted to bring this up. I was watching the movies yesterday. I watched A New Hope yesterday, and I saw a new continuity error. Yeah, when they first are leaving Mos Eisley and they're being shot at by the troopers as they're leaving, and then right as the Millennium Falcon takes off, it cuts to the cockpit. Well, no, it cuts to the chessboard, and you see Obi-Wan and Luke.
Thanks, J-Dubs.
Buckling themselves in around the chessboard. Then it cuts to the cockpit, and Han is about to talk to Chewie about some stuff about taking off. But when they cut to that, at first I thought it was like a crew member. In the back hallway of his cockpit, you see a person go around the corner.
Right.
But then I realized when they show the next scene after the chess scene, when Obi-Wan and Luke come to the cockpit, that was Alec McGinnis getting out of the way of the shot. But
No way.
He wasn't all the way out of the shot before they started rolling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
I
kind of cool.
I just noticed it last night, man.
That's kind of cool. That's not something you see every day.
And I remember when I was a kid, I remember seeing when the stormtroopers are trying to get in where 3PO and R2 are when Han and Luke are rescuing Leia. That the second trooper walking in clonks
Greatest
his
rescue
head.
mission ever happened, by the way.
He clonks his head. And then when they released the special editions of those movies, he added a sound effect. But when I was a kid, it was just the on the on stage mic. You heard plastic hitting plastic.
I love talking about the shit that changed since the original episodes came out. And one of the things that I noticed that's changed since the first time I've seen the movie was how I can't remember if it's in A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back, but I'm pretty sure it's Empire Strikes Back, where Han ends up talking to Jabba again, and he's walking in circles around him, and they moved Han's image up and down to make it look like he stepped on Jabba's tail and walked around him.
Yep.
And they like you could see it. It's bigger than shit. It looks like a hacked Photoshop job. And
that same scene ruined the first appearance of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And just because it's a special edition of the Ready Set Radio morning show, we're not going to not pay our bills. So check out this ad for this product that helps us pay the bills around here. We'll be right back.
Hey y'all, you ever got that fuck around and find out feeling from a bitch, a thought, or a hoe? Boy, have I got the thing for you. Bitch Big On Spray. That crisp fuck off scent will linger like a skunk for days. You need something stronger? Look for our new scent, Bitches Get Stitches. Coming soon to a trailer park near you.
And we're back. Speaking of the Skywalker saga, Darth Vader himself. Oh yeah, there you go. Nice. Well, what do you got for us, Chris? Because we've been like dominating this conversation a little bit, and I really want to get back to these figures.
Okay, I got a Darth Vader here that I really, really, really like.
All right, it's going to have to be sick.
All right, this guy here is carbonized graphite.
Oh, snap. Hang on now.
Hold on. Whoa, dude, look at the finish on this thing.
Yeah, he's sick.
It's real, dude.
That
That's
is-
what I'm getting. Is it heavy?
Man, you would think this was made by McFarlane, man. That's awesome.
It is not heavy, but oh my god, that looks like
Darth Vader.
wow, dude.
Yeah.
Sealey, don't have the beard buying other stuff. We need him to keep producing the show. Like he doesn't need any other.
Yeah, don't let me
Hobbies.
start trying to collect Star Wars shit. You'll never see me again.
I'm telling you.
And, you said you brought some Mandalorian stuff because we're big fans of Mandalorian.
Yeah, dude.
We got a little Grogu over here saying hi.
I don't remember anything about the show because I watched it right after we got back and after having like daughter and
That looks so cool.
there, it was a time suck. I don't remember. Days ran together. I couldn't tell night from day.
Dubs
It was
just
a
wanted
whole
to see
thing.
the lightsaber lights again.
Dude, they're fun, man.
It's nice, isn't it? I like how we built the chase in it so it looks like you're waving it around.
Maybe he'll stick around. We make enough Star Wars references on this show. We should keep a couple of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys let us know which
That
ones
looks
you
like
like.
a throwback, Chris. What do you got?
All right, so we're going to start with the OG
All right.
Mandalorian from the original series droids.
Nice.
Look at that animated Boba.
Wow.
That's not. I haven't held it up.
Let me
today.
see, let me see that because I'm curious as to.
That's awesome. Did you ever watch this cartoon, Eric?
No, this cartoon was a little bit before my time.
Yeah, I think I had it on VHS for sure. Ewoks was another animated same company or whatever.
Yep.
Ewoks.
You have like did you bring us like a chronology of Mandalorian?
Well, like I said, I went on a little spree with some Mandos, and I figured I'd just bring some examples of some that I have.
All right, moving forward from the droids, Boba Fett, what do you got?
Wasn't that? Those are those cool ones, right? That you were showing me.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, and of course we're going to start with Mando and Grogu.
man.
Nice.
He's just like the most adorable Star Wars character ever.
You guys try to
And
try to
Grogu's
describe
cute too.
for those because it's hard to see on the screen. Try to describe some of the detail in some of these characters.
That one looks like Mando and Grogu.
Yeah, he looks like
What's some of the accessories?
It looks like Boba Fett, except he's a different color. It's no green. And Grogu looks like Yoda, only smaller, and with better skin. Yeah, very cool, dude. The amount of detail on these is astounding.
Yeah.
Now, if you had to put a number on your entire collection, all the figures in boxes that you have, Star Wars related, like how much money would you say you have in all of them? Not what they're worth, because like most things are just worth what you can get somebody to pay for them. But like, how much money would you say you've put into your entire collection that you have right now? Not what's been lost, because those things are priceless.
I would probably say well over $3,000.
Ooh, wow!
Buy that for $1.
I'd buy $3,000 for $1. Hell yeah, that's amazing.
And we kind of joked about this before the episode, but how much to open one of these, Chris?
Yeah.
He's not even entertaining.
What's the cheapest figure you've got right here?
All right, you want to know what's funny? All right, this is freaking ironic. And it could probably only happen here.
I love that sentence.
Uh-oh. Clickbait.
Hold on.
I actually...
Breaking news. We have breaking news with Chris Sealey.
Yeah, because you're probably not going to believe this. I, at one time, just bought this one figure just to have him in the collection, and accidentally bought two of them.
Oh.
And he wasn't really anybody important, doesn't have a lot of value, but it was just somebody. Anyway. This little guy from The Mandalorian.
You have two Q90s?
I have two.
So there is one that we could make a skit about.
He's still
opening one of your drawers.
For the right dollar amount. Hey, search on eBay. What's the last sales for this guy?
Funny enough, the weapon that he has in here looks like the same weapon that Boba Fett is actually holding in the original Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And it could be. I'm not entirely sure, but
the rifle?
Yeah. The weapon that's in there looks like the one
it is
that Boba Fett is holding in the original Empire Strikes Back movie.
Yeah, I had that thought when you were talking about that scene of Han Solo and Jabba the Hutt that they stuck into New Hope, and I thought that also ruined the debut of Boba Fett, because he's at the very end of that scene. Well, he might be in the beginning of it too, but he's definitely at the end of it, and that makes him feel less exclusive of a bounty hunter. You know what I mean? Knowing that he was on Vader's payroll only kind of felt like he was more menacing. But yeah, that Han Solo Jabba the Hutt scene should never have been like pulled out of the vault. Just why?
And then on top of that, they even went back and changed the ending of the prequels to go back and look at some of the original planets from the original trilogy to celebrate when at the end of the prequels, I just don't like the way he went back and changed anything. Like
not for nothing, I will keep every single change. I'll keep that Jabba and Han scene, leave it in there.
Okay.
But go back and make sure that Han shoots first.
I was literally, I get out of my head. Get out of my head.
That is so important to that character, and because Greedo shoots first, it totally.
Out of all the changes that happened, that was the one that I was most mad about.
Especially,
how dare you? Han shot first, and we all know it.
Especially if you have not seen.
That's why he lived so long doing this. Oh,
when you first meet Han Solo, that's the thing that gave you the idea. Like, oh, this guy really is a ruthless smuggler, and will just someone right in the bar.
It's the only reason he gets to live and be Han Solo for as long as he does.
For barely threatening him. Yeah. I'm going to turn you in for the bounty. Maybe
he's quick and he's funny, but that doesn't mean he won't shoot your ass first.
And I can't believe the mouse hadn't fixed that yet.
Yeah.
Fix it. We're all tired of it. Everyone hates Greedo shooting first. Everyone hates it.
Yeah.
Even Greedo hates it. He's a fictional character.
You gotta fix this.
Yeah.
We're getting close to wrapping this up, but I want to talk about some like all-time favorites. Do you have favorite characters, favorite moments, things that when you think Star Wars, you're like, dude, this moment right here.
If it's not R2, it's not Star Wars. He is the OG of the entire series, dude. The entire saga.
He's absolutely one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
If it's not R2, it ain't right.
I think my favorite moments in Star Wars is Luke and Yoda on Dagobah. I love that wise, elderly Yoda.
Yep. Do it. J-Dubs, look me in the eye and press that button.
No, he's not going to press the Yoda button for me, but I love those scenes. I love that. That's when you finally get into the nitty gritty of like training to be a Jedi and what does that really
J-Dubs, look me in the eye and press the Yoda button.
Yep. And you start discovering that that's when you start getting the hints that Luke is. That's when you start getting the hints that Luke is extremely powerful in the Force, and the way that he's not afraid, even though he should be afraid.
Yep.
And that's a big thing that he faces his adversities and he's not afraid. He's never afraid. You know,
that's only because his mind is never on what he's doing. It's always out there.
He's walking.
He's always
stargazing,
room,
handcuffed with Vader, walking into Palpatine's throne room. He's like, whatever. It's a Tuesday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When he should be like,
shivering in his boots.
See, it should have been green. At that point, his lightsaber was green. Way to go, Dubs. Way to not make a green one. Favorite moments, favorite characters, guys. What do you got? What happened?
I don't know.
Oh no.
You didn't let it finish before you hit another one.
That's probably.
Sorry.
Let it finish. See what happens.
There we go.
There we go. Back to our regularly scheduled program.
Chris, favorite moment in all the Star Wars saga. What you got for us?
Lightsaber battle.
Which one?
I mean,
all of them.
Any lightsaber battle, to be honest, really. Like,
I mean, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Darth Maul.
The Duel of the Fates, dude. I'm telling you, that shit is the jam.
It is.
That's the best one ever, dude.
That was just badass.
Yeah.
Definitely one of my favorite lightsaber battles.
I also like Luke and Vader in Empire.
Yeah.
Not because the fighting was so spectacular, but it was an intense fight. It had ebbs and flows, and then it ended on that cliffhanger. Luke loses his hand and his lightsaber.
Dude. Luke and Vader and the Emperor in Empire.
I was about to say when
that's where it all
when Luke
culminates,
lost his
dude.
shit.
Oh, when he's like,
And he just said,
over and over and
and
over
he just
again.
kept going and going
and
and
that's
going
why
and going and going.
good story.
Even Vader was like, man, this guy's
Like,
good.
hold up.
Up to that point, you're like,
Yeah.
Luke's the good guy, and there's no change in that.
You saw an
and when that
animosity.
happened, you were like, oh, maybe he is gonna turn, and he could have. That would have been a great movie.
He could have.
If Luke had turned, I think it still would have been a great movie.
Out of, and we don't learn this until later, but out of all of Luke's story, out of all the moments where this might be the moment where he could go to the dark side, I don't think that was the one.
No.
Maybe that could be what the horror movie's about.
Maybe.
Ooh.
I can't wait to see what the horror movie's about.
I don't know what they're thinking, but I'm interested.
Like, to take something like Star Wars and go make a horror movie within that universe, or is it like within that universe, or is it like a horror movie that happens at a Star Wars heavy Comic-Con? You know what I mean? Like, is it really a Star Wars movie?
I really hope not.
So like,
that has been played out.
But the option is there. We have no idea what it's gonna be. So like, what I love about it is the anticipation and the fact that it's Star Wars. It's Star Wars related, but it could still be anything.
Let's see if I can Let's see if I can find the budget for this movie, and that'll tell us everything we need to know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me the genre.
I don't know if it'll tell us everything, but it'll tell us a lot.
Anytime that there is a Star Wars related motion picture that goes to theaters, I'm seeing it in the opening weekend. Like, I have to, and it's been that way since I was a kid.
Yeah, but what if it turns out like the horror movie one is actually, it's not a Star Wars canon, it's more like fanboys, where like the guys are all Star Wars fans and it's all Star Wars related, but it's not a Star Wars movie.
Have you seen Fanboys?
No.
I'm gonna have to hook you up with it, man. It's a movie literally about huge Star Wars fans. One of them is dying.
I'll tell you this. It's the movie right now. It's the four of us. I won't tell you which one, but one of us is dying of cancer, and the four of us get in a van and go bug George Lucas to show us the movie ahead of time.
Break into Lucasfilm.
Because one of us isn't going to make it to opening day. You know what I'm saying, George? You got to let us see it now.
It's a hilarious, awesome movie.
And all the hijinks that you could think that would happen in that movie happen, and it's amazing.
Awesome.
I'm hoping that it's an in-universe, in-canon horror movie that it just exists somewhere else in that universe.
Yeah. What if that in-canon horror movie is a TikTok movie that stormtroopers are making on the Death Star before it gets blown up, dude? Could you imagine?
It's a social media based.
There's our scenario.
Death Star.
Yeah, dude.
Right
It would
before
literally
Luke
be
blows
if-
it
Hey,
up.
there's our scenario.
If the four of us were stormtroopers and we made Tales from the Scarewaves on the Death Star, what would that look like?
Low budget as shit,
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
but funny.
All right.
So yeah, I want to check it out.
All right. So may the force be with you. We love you guys. Thanks for checking out our May the 4th be with you episode. Chris Sealey, thank you for coming.
Thanks
on
for
the
being
show.
here, bud.
Hey, I appreciate you having me out.
Yeah, thank you for bringing all these cool ass toys. We're gonna look at a little more off the air. You guys check out the next episode 7 days from now. Oh no, it's like 9 days.
This
from
is
now.
a special edition, dude. So yeah, it's a few days off, but
Not the next Tuesday, but the next Tuesday. We'll see you back on the airwaves. J-Dubs, take us out. Press a button. Maybe something. May the force be ever with you.